Cloud. Um, so today, guys, we are going to talk about one important thing that we were planning on discussing in the last class, and that was when we have to call an external system and we have to write a test class for that class, which is making a call out. Okay, so there is slight difference when you are writing a test class for a class which is making a call out to an external system. Because what happens is in the test, through the test class, you cannot make a call out. That is the first important thing. So how will you test the class? So your coverage might not be appropriate if you don't cover everything, right? And if you need to have at least 75% code coverage, and if majority of the code in the class is for a call out, so how are you going to cover it? So in order to cover those scenarios, does anybody know what we need to do?
Do we use mock test?
Very good. So what we do is we create a mock uh, class, which basically mocks up the output of that callout. So at the when you're running the test class, the callout is never made to that system, because what happens is if you're trying to make a call and that you cannot do it through a test class. So what you have to do is you're going to implement this interface. What is the name of the interface, Mehdi? Do you know?
No, I forgot.
Okay. It is, let me see 1 second. Mock, what was it? Implements, where is my class? 1 second, guys, I'm trying to see. Wait a minute, did anybody updated something here? There was an example for the mock interface making the call out.
Hmm.
Let me see 1 second. Maybe this is the one. 1 second, guys, let me look at the one. Okay, this is the one. So, I was just scared for a minute. So now Apex test methods are not allowed to make real HTTP callouts. Okay. Now, why is that? Why are they not allowed to make HTTP callout? Because first of all, can anybody tell me without looking at the screen, why do you think is the reason? Why do you think that the callouts shouldn't be allowed from test classes? Just think about it. What do you think out of your general knowledge? Shoot me some answers.
Governor limits or okay.
Okay. Some limits. Okay. Because see, do you, every API call that you make, let's say you're making to a Google API or to a Google Map API, it costs you behind the scene, right? And test classes, people run it over and over. You run it multiple times to test your code coverage. So you don't want to kind of use that limit on test classes. That is one of the reasons. Okay. The other reason is test should run offline. Okay. And there should not be dependent on external systems, right? Your test class shouldn't be dependent on external system. What if the external system is down? Your test class is going to fail. And test must not consume API limits or real money. So for those reasons, your test methods are basically not allowed to make real-time HTTP callouts. And if you try to make a callout in a test without a mock-up class, you're going to get a callout exception. So if you don't have this mock class implemented, HTTP callout mock, sorry, that's the name. Um, if you don't do that, then what's going to happen is you're going to get an exception called callout exception. Okay, so this particular class, let's say my mock, implements HTTP callout mock. So what is all needs to do, whatever is the response that the API is sending you back, you just have to create a dummy class expecting that response. Do you understand what a mock response is? Mock response means is a dummy response. So every time you make a call out, you're going to get the same exact response, but the call out won't be made. Okay, so when Apex tries to call an external endpoint during a test, don't actually go outside, return this fake response instead. That is what it is happening. So whenever this class which implements this HTTP mockout, callout mock, basically when the callout is being made, it actually is not making the callout, but it is giving you back a response which looks like the response that you have designed. Okay, so you're saving on the call, on the server call, on the API call, and also test is not going to be dependent on external system result. Test will pass. Any questions up till this point?
No.
Okay. Anybody else? Everybody good? Okay. And so what happens is if and you're going to set, okay, this is the mockup class, and you're going to set up that this is my mock class that whenever the callout is being made, actual callout shouldn't be made. This is the response that should be sent. So if let's say Salesforce is making a call to this open weather API. Now in the test world, Salesforce is going to make a call to the mock class. Here in the real world, actual response from the open weather API will be sent back to you. Whereas in the test case, that fake response that you have set up in the mock class, that is what it is going to be sent back to you. Here, a network call will be used. Here, there is no network call because you're not making a call out. This is unstable because, see, sometimes your service might be down, so your call out won't result into any output, or he'll give you a 404 or 500 error. It could be anything. Whereas here, it is 100% predictable because you're always getting a mock response, a dummy response. Okay? So first important thing is, let's create a class which makes the callout. So where is that class? Right here. So this is the class, and let me show you what this class is doing. So let's go to Postman. So we are making a call to this external system called as Open Weather Map. Okay, hopefully this is working. And I believe this Open Weather Map uses an API key. Okay, so now I need to send that API key. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Okay, this is the one. Let me save it. Weather API. Save it. And I'll save it in somewhere here. Okay, so in this weather API, now here I am passing in the two parameters. One is the app ID. Now, where did I get the app ID? Very simple. So if you go over to this website called Open Weather Map, and if you create an account with them, okay, they will generate, it's free of cost. They will generate an API key for you. Okay. Up to 1,000 calls, it is completely free. And here you can see, wait a minute. So now here, my API keys. So let's execute this. This is my API key. Okay. Now what I did is in this call, I put this API key, Control V, and here I am passing in a parameter, the name of the city, and let's do it send here. I got a 200 response. Okay. And this is the output I received. So you can make the same call. This is how the output works. So it gives me a weather for that city. And what is it available here? It gives me a temperature. It gives me in Kelvin, so we have to convert it into Fahrenheit or Celsius, whichever you want to do it. Okay. So 285 feels like 283, minimum is 282, temperature maximum is 286. So pretty much it gave you this data back. Now, if I change it to another city from Dallas, let's say we do Virginia, you will see the output is going to be different. So let's say this is your output 275 feels like 272. So this is your output that is coming up. Now from this is the call out that we are going to make from our Apex. Okay. So how will I do that? It's we have done it a million times now. So first of all, we'll go over to setup and I'll explain to you what we have done. So if you guys remember the integration part, um, to to have a good output, what we will do to have a output that is more readable, what did we have to convert it into something, right? Remember?
To JSON, is that what you're saying?
JSON is the way you're going to send, but from JSON, you will have to convert it into a, what is it? A wrapper,
Oh,
right?
wrapper class,
Yeah.
yes.
So that way it's easy to fetch the values from your callout. Okay. So here, file, new. What is the name of the class? Name of the class is Open Weather Map Service. And let's understand what are we doing in here. And inside, so you understood the postman, right? All I'm doing is making a call and we are just going to see, we saw the results of that call. And as you can see here, the results that it is returning is in Kelvin. So we want the results either to be in Fahrenheit or in Celsius. Okay, so here, this is my class here. Now, the first thing is I created the weather. This is the endpoint, right? This is the API I'm hitting. So if you go over to Postman, that's exactly what I'm hitting. And two parameters it is expecting. One is the city that you're interested in and the app ID, which is going to be fixed. Okay, so if you create an account with weather service, you're going to get your own API key. So over here,
And API key is always stable, right? It's just one API
yeah,
key.
it depends upon what kind of API key it is. Like if you want to get it refreshed or something like that, you can do that also. But right now, this is a um, fixed API key.
Okay.
Okay. So here, this is the result, the weather result. And as you can see here, if you go over to this Postman, you see this, they converted, not everything they need to put it into exactly into the, what do you call, into the response. So whatever values they wanted, they created a, corresponding to this JSON response, they created a wrapper. Okay. So it has city, country, temp. This is the one they are going to send us back. The result of the API, this is what they're going to send us back. They're sending us a city, country, temperature in Kelvin, temperature in Celsius, temperature in Fahrenheit, the humidity, pressure, description, wind speed. So this is the result. Okay. This is not the, this is the result, which is not exactly the same as what this result is. Are you getting my point? Basically, this result only gives you temperature in Kelvin, but we are going to make changes to the result before we show it to the user. Are you getting my point?
Yeah, so that's a wrapper class that we want to
That's one
convert.
wrapper class,
Yeah.
which is going to be the weather result. Now, there is another wrapper, and this is the response. Okay. So this is the actual response that is coming. So it has a name, sys, main, weather, and wind. So if you go here, it has main, this is main, then it has weather, okay, then it has something called as let's see what else it has. It has wind, clouds, TT, visibility, and SIS. Okay, so from here, it created a another wrapper own response and not the exact JSON it is mapped. So whatever pieces from the response it actually needs, it created a similar wrapper for that. Okay, are you getting my point?
Can you
So,
explain the second one? What was the use
okay,
of the second one?
see,
The own
this is
response?
the actual response that is coming from the postman. This response is this response is more modified response. So first what happens is you get this response, which is nothing but exactly mapped to these parameters. So if I shorten this thing up and if I collapse it, you will see there is main, there is weather, okay, and there is code. So from here it has all these points, right? So from here it basically created a name, SIS, which is nothing but this part, SIS. It has multiple things under it. Okay, if I expand it, it has type and ID, country, sunrise, sunset. So it's not interested in all the values from sys. It's only interested in one value, which is a country. Similarly, main. What is inside of main? Main is over here. It has temperature, feels like minimum, all of that. So from here, it basically in the main, it has temperature, humidity, and pressure. So from the output, whichever fields it was interested in, it only mapped those values. Are you getting my point?
Right. So we have if you want to like in this here in Postman, we have a one class and some kind of inner class and we want to
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
like
So we have one class, and then sys is an inner class, which is nothing but this is. Similarly, main is also another inner class inside of own response, OWM response, which is this one. So this is just inner classes. So this is the actual response that is coming back from your call out. But then you are converting this response into this response, which is more easier to read. Are you getting my point?
yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So then what you're doing is you have to build the URL, right? Now there is a annotation called test visible. What does this annotation means? Anybody wants to take a guess?
We want it to be used for testing.
No, we want this particular method to be visible for the test class. Okay. So here, that's why we're using the annotation at test visible. So means it is going to be visible to the test class. Okay. So now here it is so this is the method which is responsible for building our URL. Now, what is the URL? This is the URL, right? To this URL, we have already hard coded this part. Remember in the very beginning, that is our endpoint, but it is expecting Q and app ID also. So here, if the city is blank, it is going to throw an exception. If the country code is blank, it is also going to throw an exception. If the API key is blank, it is going to throw an exception. So it is expecting you to, we don't have to provide country code, but it's just testing that. Okay. If any of these is not available, it is going to throw you an exception. Okay. But if you're passing in the city, if you're passing in the API code, then this is how you have to construct the URL. So first part is an Q, right? Q is equals to whatever you have passed into the city. What was the trim does? Trim basically removes extra spaces. So it is encoding these what do you call the city, and then country code it is trimming, and it is encoding into UTF-8. So this is some kind of code. You don't have to go into nitty-gritty. This is, you're always going to use it like this. URL encode, it's encoding the URL and adding the city and the country code. And so the final URL is going to be base URL, which is nothing but this thing, base URL. And to this base URL, you are passing in the queue, which is this one, which has city and country code and app ID. So this is where your complete URL is constructed. That is the URL you're returning back. As you can see here, this method's return type is string. So nothing but this exact URL. Okay. And what you are passing to the method, based on that, this value will be replaced. It will either be Virginia, Dallas, Prosper, whatever. Okay. So this is where you are constructing the URL that which you are making the call out to. Any questions, guys, up till this point?
Can you explain 959? What's that
Okay,
one
so
about?
50 line. Okay, okay, so tell me what's happening here.
So I know the base URL is that the base URL, the
That
weather.
the constant that I have set up in the top, right?
Right, right. And then
Then
we have Q, which has the city and the country code.
okay, okay, if you remember, this is concatenation of string. Simple. Remember the pickup plus khanna, we did it in the very first, second class. It's a string.
Yes.
Anything you put it in the code is a string. So this URL, so this is how it's being constructed. So first, this is your weather. Okay. And here it is right now. This is how it's going to first put the base URL. Base URL is what? The base URL is, let me just add it. This is my base URL. Then it is adding question mark. So I'm going to add a question mark. Q equals to, what is the Q? So Q is city.trim. So whatever I'm passing into the city, let's say I'm passing in Dallas again. So this is my city. Then it is adding and, so then and app ID. So this is going to be copied as it is. So and app ID equals to whatever the app ID I'm passing. So let's say the app ID I'm passing is, this is my app ID. So this is your complete URL. What is this method is returning?
Okay, makes sense. Thanks.
Okay. Then get weather, current weather. So far, any point, have you made the call out yet? Have you made?
No.
No, right? When do you know the call out has been made? When you actually do http.send, right? That's when the call out actually gets made, right?
Right.
So this is the method they have, get current weather. And this method gives you a return type of weather result. Now, what is weather result, guys? The actual response, not the actual, but the modified response. This is your weather result. Okay. So here what's happening is, to this current weather, you're passing in the city, you're passing in the country code, and you're passing in the API key. So from here, what kind of request are you making? It's a get request, right? We didn't put anything in the body, as you can see from the postman also. What kind of request was it? So it was a get request, right? Right here, it's a get request. This is the complete URL. Nothing else you're passing in, and that's it. So the same way you're going to do the call out through the code. You're creating an HTTP request. You're setting up the method as a get method. You're building up the URL, which is nothing but the method above, which gives you back an endpoint, the complete endpoint. And you're setting up some timeout, means if the result doesn't come in this, so you should get timeout after these many seconds. And here is actually the call out is being made at this point. This is the line where the actual request is being sent to the Open Weather API. Any questions up till this point?
Now, is there any limit in terms of set the timeout?
What
Or
is what is it?
so for the set timeout,
Uh,
970, is there a limit in terms of like, can I like put like 10,000,
no, you shouldn't
200,000?
be putting that long. The reason being, then you're just waiting on that result. So it should be around less than 1,000 to 10,000. That's it. Because then you're just, and it's gonna, if it is taking a long time, then you can try putting it a little bit longer. But usually you shouldn't go beyond like a minute. Don't do a minute or 30 seconds or something like that. It should be pretty quick.
But it's in milliseconds, right?
Yeah, milliseconds.
Okay.
Okay, so here is the one. Now what it is doing, it is checking the response. So once the call out is made, you get the response. You're checking the status code. If the status is either less than 200, so what does that mean? If the status is less than 200 means not successful. 200 means successful. Okay. If the status is less than 200 or it is greater than 300, means 404, 500, that means something happened. A call out exception will be thrown, means the call out was not made successful, something went wrong. Otherwise, we have seen this one, right? What are we doing here? We are basically the response that is coming back from the call out, we are converting it, we are deserializing it, which means we are converting it into an apex class. So basically, we converted the response, which is a JSON response, into this OWM response. Means open weather map response. Okay, so that is your class, which is nothing but it converted it into this. Are you getting my point up till this point? That is the deserializing happening. Now from here, from this OWM response, you want to construct the weather result. You can actually, you're good up till this point. Means you got a response, now you can display whatever is in, but we went a step ahead. So we constructed the weather result. Okay, we're creating an instance of this. And then we are checking from this response, OWM response, we are checking that does a city is available or not. Okay, out.city equals to OWM not equals to null, means if the response is not equals to null, then whatever is available in the name part of OWM, that is what we'll put into the city part of the weather result. If the OWM is not null, then it and OWM.sys, which is nothing but this response, sys, where is sys? So here, sys. Now, from here, if I have to fetch the country part, I have to do OWM.sys.country, right? And that's exactly what I have done. OWM.sys.country. If I want to know the city, city is present under OWM.name. So where it is, if I go up, city is present in the name part. So where is name? Name is right here, right? So Virginia. So city is nothing but Virginia. So here, if I go back, whatever is present in the name attribute, put it into the city. Whatever is present in this attribute of the response, put it into the country. And again, it is checking if OWN main is not equals to null. So what does main has? Main has all this thing, temperature, feels like, pressure, humidity, sea level, all of that. So if that component is not null, then it is getting the temperature in Kelvin, which is present in own.main.temp, which is nothing but main.temp. This is your temperature in Kelvin, 275. You're putting it into the any point, guys, stop me if you're not understanding. We're basically trying to populate data in the weather result from your OWM response. So from OWM response, we are fetching out the values we want and we are putting it into weather result. Okay. So now they have Kelvin to Celsius. So there is a method they have introduced which converts your Kelvin value to a Celsius value. And this is the formula they are applying. And similarly, there is a method which returns a Kelvin value to a Fahrenheit value. And this is the formula they're using. This is any formula, this formula you can get it from Google. And similarly, if you have to convert a temperature from Kelvin to Celsius, you're going to do something like this. Okay. Any questions, guys? So these are two methods. And these two methods basically convert the temperature from Kelvin to Celsius and Kelvin to Fahrenheit. So now we got the temperature, which is in Kelvin, and we are basically converting into Celsius, and the result we are storing in this variable, which is available on the weather result. Then again, we are converting the temperature into Fahrenheit and putting the result into this variable. We are getting the humidity and pressure from the OWM response and putting it into the weather result. Okay. Then we are also getting the description. Now OWM.weather, where what is available under OWM.weather. So here it has a description. So we are getting this value also, clear sky. Okay. So here you got that description we are putting into this variable. Similarly, the wind speed. Wind speed is available in OWM.wind. So if you see here, OWM.wind. Where is wind? So right here. So in the wind, it has a speed 4.12. So we are getting that speed and putting into this variable out.wind speed. That's it. Now, if I have to call this, how will I call? Very simple. This is my class. Which method I have to call? System.debug. This is my class get current weather. I will pass in Virginia. Okay. Country code, let's pass in, doesn't need it, but let's pass in US. And API key this is the API key. Control C, pass in this API key. Okay. Now we'll go ahead and hit execute unexpected token. What happened here? We need a semicolon. And now let's see the output. So a callout is being made, debug only. And you can see here, this is the result. So from this entire output, which is this, it figured out the important pieces of information. It figured out Virginia, US, description is clear sky. And as you can see here, the description was clear sky. Then humidity is 65. You can see here, if you go here, humidity is, okay, so that's pretty wrong. So what it did, so basically, is there a humidity somewhere else? Let's see, humidity. Okay, there is one place. So I don't know why it gave 63 over here. Let's run it again. Yeah, it gave you, now it ran and it gave you 65. So the latest is 65. And you can see here, this gave you 65. Pressure is 1023. You can see here, pressure is 1023 right here. And then you have temperature in Celsius. So this is 2.76. So that is, you're converting it, right? So this is 275 minus 273. That's how you convert from Kelvin to Celsius. Temperature in Fahrenheit is 36. Kelvin is 275 and wind speed. So from this output, we basically figured out what we wanted and we converted that into the weather result. And from the weather result, this is what I'm seeing. Any questions up till this point?
No, that was a very good example in terms of just parsing data.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm glad you liked it. So now we have to write a test class for this. Anybody held any questions beside Mehdi? Mehdi is the only person who talks in the class. What about others, guys? If you don't tell me you're not following something, I will keep on going. Richa, Linda, Pinal, Kushbu, what's going on?
Questions
Yep.
from there. Thank you.
Okay.
That's good.
Okay, so now we will create a test class for this. So very simple. What are we going to do is that test class, we will create a test class and we will call this as, let's go back here. And okay, so this is my test class. Open weather map file, new Apex class. There one test and click OK. Oh, you cannot have a. Okay, let's do this. Okay, so now it is a test class. So let's go ahead and copy the code. That way it makes my life easy. Okay. Okay, so now we have, so what all tests we have to do? We just have to check, right? Is the callout, we just have to cover for that class that we created. And in that class, we are making a call out. So as you know from test class, if you try to make a call out, if you're trying to invoke that class, which is making a call out, is going to result into a call out exception, unless your class implements HTTP callout mock. Okay. So what it is doing is it basically created another inner class, whether success mock. Okay. And this is where you are setting up the mock response. Okay. And it implements HTTP callout mock. So is this an interface or is this a abstract class? Or is this a, what is it? HTTP callout mock with
Is
this
it
statement.
I think it's an interface, isn't it?
Why do you say it's an interface?
Uh,
What happens if it was a class? What will we say?
so if it, oh, actually, hold on a second. Is that a class or interface? So we have a class called HTTP_mock that we extend that.
Guys, this is,
Yeah, I think it's an interface.
it is an interface. You have to be confident. It's an interface because we're using the keyword implements. Implements keyword is used with an interface. Extends keyword is used with a class. Okay? If you're extending from another class, if you have a parent class and you're extending from that parent class, then you will use the keyword extends. But if it is an interface, it is going to use the keyword implements. Okay?
Okay.
So now inside of this HTTP weather, it is implementing that interface, and I have a method here. So this is the class which implements, and it has a method called as public HTTP response, and this is for successful. So you basically are testing, is your code working as expected in a good path, means a successful call out, as well as in an unsuccessful call out. So you're covering all your bases. So here you're setting up the endpoint, same thing we did. And sorry, you're asserting here that is your endpoint starts with this. And if it doesn't starts with this content, then it is going to give you an error. Okay. So request dot of, so this, whenever you're invoking this respond, wait a minute. One second. I'm trying to see something. Uh, oh, okay. So guys, this is not a test method, right? Because it doesn't start with at is test. This is just a respond here, and it is a mock success response. And when the successful response comes, this is the response it is expecting you. And it is nothing but this exact response minus few parameters. So name is London, sys is the same parameter that the response was giving. Inside of main, you have humidity, pressure. So they converted this JSON into a string, and they're using that as a mock response. Okay. So here, first statement is, it is a assert statement which checks, does the request, now where is this request coming from? So whenever you are making the call out, right, that is the request. Okay, HTTP request. They're checking, is the call out being made to this endpoint? And if it is, then we are good. Otherwise, you're going to get this error message. Okay, it is checking, does the endpoint starts with this? If it is true, we are good. Otherwise, if it is false, it is going to give you the message. Then here it is setting up the header and body. So we are setting up that response, the successful mock response. So we are setting up the status code as 200, content type is JSON, and this is your actual body of the response, and that is what this method is returning. Any questions?
No, makes sense.
Everybody, right? So this is your HTTP callout mock. It is giving you a successful mock-up of your response, which is nothing but, so this will always be fixed. No matter you're passing Virginia or Dallas, your response is going to be London because that's what you have pasted over here. Similarly, they've created a bad response also. If in case it was a call out exception or something happened or your API key was wrong, then they built up another response, which is your 401 response, which is uh, not found, right? 401 is not found, 404 is not found, 401 is also something from the client side. So this is your response, mock-up response. It also implements the HTTP call out mock. So this is giving you the response when it is a bad request. Okay. And in the bad request, they're giving you a message saying invalid API key. So now that is where your actual test starts. Okay. So here you're set up the mock, then saying, hey, if I'm making a call out to this current weather, I don't want you to make a call out. I want you to go ahead and give me this response. Okay. So when this call out is being made, this is exactly when it is invoking your current weather, which is nothing but the class we created and the method we wrote. But instead of making that call, it is going to return you back this mockup response. Okay. And then you are checking what is the mockup response. Is the city London? Yes, because this is your city. City is going to be London. Is the country Great Britain? Yes, country is GB. It is checking for that. Then it is checking the temperature in Kelvin. Is it 280? You can see here the temperature in Kelvin you have set up over here is 280.32. Humidity is 81. Pressure is 1012. And that's exactly what you're checking here. Okay. And you're checking your temperature in Celsius, which is 280 minus 273. And you're checking, is this equal? Then you're checking your temperature in Fahrenheit. And then you're checking both those values are equal or not. You're checking your humidity, pressure. So you're not looking at the actual response. You're looking at the mock-up response. And based on the mock-up response tells you that your call out will be successful. Okay. Then in the second one, you're testing with the bad key. So you are giving a bad key, means you're giving a wrong key. Now, if it is a wrong key, you're going to get the response would be failure response. And in the failure response, this is going to be your assert statement. You're checking, does it contains the status as 401? If it does, then we are good. Otherwise, this is the error message that will be thrown. And it is checking, in this case, you should get an exception and true, which is this one, true is equals to. Now explain to me, remember we did this assert and assert equals. What is the difference between assert and assert equals?
So assert checks whatever we get versus what we want, what we want to get. Assert equals check check if it's false or it's true. How can I explain?
What does assert does? If I just say system.assert, what does that mean? What it is checking for? System.assert, guys, check for is the parameter true or not. That's all it checks for. Okay, system.assert is expecting the first parameter to be true or is it not? If the first parameter is true, you are good. If it is false, means you fail, that means it will fail. Similarly, assert equals check is the first parameter equals to the second parameter. It could be 27, 18, 27, 27, whatever the result is. Both these needs to be equal. Here it is checking is the first part true or not. That's what it is checking. So in this case, when you're calling this, it is going to result into an exception. So your code will come here. Okay, that means it is going to throw you remember the exception part of your code will run. So once the exception is thrown, you're setting up this variable to true. Then you're checking that is the true equals to true, which means was the exception thrown? Yes. So this is your expected call out exception for non 200 responses, means any case when it is not a 200 response, your exception will occur. Okay. And then here it is checking system.assert, means the message that it will return you in this case will be a 401. The status is going to be 401. So it is checking, does the message contains the status of 401? Yes. Because if you go up here, what is your failed response looks like? This is your failed response looks like 401, and message is this, and the status code is 401 right there. So if it is giving you this response, which means that an exception occurred and you're checking, is my response matches to what I'm expecting? Yes. If it is good, you're good. If in this case it ended up giving you a 200, means something is wrong with your code. With a bad key, it should not have worked. The callout should not have given you a successful one. Success response will only be possible if your call out was successful. But in the case of bad API key, your call out should fail. So you should get a failure mockup. So in both the cases, actual call out is not being made. In one case, you're getting a success mockup. In the other case, you're getting a failed mockup. But the actual call to the open weather is not happening from this test class. Are you following?
Yes.
What about others?
So,
Yes.
Deepika, since we are not making the actual call, does
Huh?
it do the code coverage? Because it's not
Yes,
going
yes,
to the.
because it does do the code coverage, and I'll show you in a minute. Because actually, in the code coverage, what are you testing? So if let's open up the class as well. What was the name of the class? Open weather uh, service. No. Okay, this is pretty much the same too. So here, if I go, let's look at the last method also, and then we will run this test class. Here it is testing your build URL method. Okay, so it is checking if your city is blank, this should give you an exception, right? So it is assert, means now this moment this exception comes, remember this line is going to give you an exception because your city part is blank. So if you remember here, in this case, in the build URL, you are testing, hey, if the city part is blank, throw an illegal argument exception. So in this case, an exception will be thrown and your catch block will get executed. Okay, now this is your catch block. It is empty pretty much. Again, you are passing London. Country code you're passing is blank. Again, an exception will be thrown, which is of the type illegal. So will this line get executed? Tell me.
No.
Very good. Because an exception was thrown, the line will come directly to catch. Because if this line got executed means it failed. Your test method fails. Because you're explicitly setting up the value as false. And this value should be true. If this value comes out to be false, means this test assert statement will fail. Okay, we discussed it in the previous class. And then here you're passing a good city country code, but a blank API key. Again, an exception will be thrown. So here you're testing for your build URL. Okay, now let's go ahead and test this new run and open weather service test. And these are the methods and run it. Go to the test class, run methods. All of these passed. And if you go here and if you double click, you will see all your code, not this one, but you can see here your current weather code has been executed. And if you look at here, open weather, you will see your, where is it? Open weather. I'm trying to look for that class. What is the code coverage? Okay, you can see your code coverage here, 90%. All test is 100%. This is 17, 40, 40. So this is your all test is about 100% code coverage. So this is how you cover your code when you are having a call out made from your Apex class. This is an important topic. You will have to, whenever you see a call out being made from Salesforce, test class, this is how you write the test class. Any questions, guys?
Would it be correct to say we are using mock class to instead of having a actual call out, run
Yeah,
against the mock and just check the results, compare.
exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so we are not making, the test class cannot make that call. So in order to get some result, we are basically generating a dummy response, and we are using that dummy response to check, to cover for our class. This is the point of getting the code coverage. Okay?
Thanks.
So I had a question. If let's say, I mean, in this example, you use Postman and you use the weather application. But like, let's say if you're in real life, you have Salesforce, you're using org, and it's calling out to another integrated system that you have.
Exactly.
So,
Very good.
so because you're doing that, I mean, how would you set up? Uh, like, would you use Postman in that
Yes,
sense to
you can
you
use
use the
Postman.
same way to call? Is Postman like an intermediary, like? Application that would just take the information from the other application, put it in Postman, and then you communicate with Postman. That's the
No,
mock.
no, 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 no,
No?
no.
I'm
Postman
confused.
is not something you use. Um, Postman is just to test something. It is
Right.
basically to test your endpoint, your API. Let's say another integrated system gave you their endpoint. They said, hey, you hit this endpoint. We are expecting these parameters. You give this API key. This is your credentials. You can hit the same one through Postman and see what the result is. Once
Okay.
that is just as a test to test if the API is working as expected. But once you get your request, once you can create a Postman request, you know how to invoke the same thing via code. So in code, actually, you have to create an HTTP request, make a send. All Postman is just to test your APIs. That's it.
Okay.
Usually,
Okay.
as a developer will use it to test some APIs, or a tester might use it, but none other than them, anybody else won't use Postman.
So then when the data itself that you're testing, this mock data, then where would you be put? Would you input that? You would create that on your own somewhere in a data
Yes,
file?
based on this response. So based on this response, I will create a mock response.
Okay. So the Postman will hit the API, the external API, get the data, and you would use that data
Yeah,
as
whatever you want. Like I
that,
didn't use the
okay.
entire thing, but I used like few pieces of this information to create a mock response.
Okay, but okay, so then you use that just that information, or
Huh.
did this system call out to Postman or did not? It just
No,
got the data. Okay, it
no,
never
no,
did
no,
that.
no. This
Okay, all
system
right.
never called Postman. Postman
Okay,
is just a tool for people to test APIs.
okay.
It's a free
To
tool.
get the
You can
data.
use it. Another person in another company can use it. Anybody can use Postman. It's an open source thing. I just have to create an account, test my APIs. That's pretty much it.
Okay, just to get the test data
Sometimes,
of what you're
because
looking
of
for.
your
Okay,
office security, your Postman might not work. If you're calling an internal integrated service or something like that, then it, or maybe you have to allow, sometimes some companies don't even allow Postman to be available. So it depends on company to company. But Postman is a tool generally used by developers or by testers to test an API, mostly developers. And through this Postman, I was able to know what the response I can expect. And I created a dummy response based on that.
okay,
Okay.
okay. That makes more sense. Okay.
So now, guys, I know Mehdi mentioned something about Apex library. I personally have not used it, but if you guys want to learn it, I don't mind taking a look at it. And but I am a little busy tomorrow. I can do the class on Wednesday, and I can try to come up with whatever I can for that topic. Okay?
That'd be great. Also, because do you have any suggestions or I don't know, since you've been um, writing code for a long time. Any suggestions or tips for like a design, like when you are about to write the code, how do you do the design? I don't know if any tips or if we want to cover it on Wednesday. Does that make sense?
Uh,
I mean, you get a request. How do you design the code?
See,
Like some
90% of the time, lot of times, I'll tell you, depending upon projects to projects, not always you're going to be working on projects from scratch. So you might be fixing some bugs or code that is already working, to be honest with you.
right.
70% of the time you'll be updating few things inside of the code that's working. For some time, you probably need to create a new Apex class or a batch class. So let's say if I ask you, hey, you write a batch class, or they ask you, hey, there is a um, account records, 20,000 account records, okay, in your system. And based upon the status of the account, go ahead and update their stages or something like that. Okay, random. Now, what will you do in this case if this was your requirement?
So that would be a batchable
Yeah.
class.
So in the batch class, what all things needs to be there?
So I need to check the status and then update
No, no.
this.
So when you write a batch class, what all methods you need to do and what interface you have to implement?
Um, I forgot the interface, but
It's a batchable interface. What are the methods that you need to implement?
so first we get records
Very good. So first you have, okay, one is you're going to implement the batchable interface, database.batchable, I believe that's the one. Then you're going to write a start method. Then you're going to have an execute method.
and
And
end.
then you're going to have a finish method.
Yeah.
Okay. So now in the start method is where you will make the query to retrieve all those account records. Okay. Then in the execute method, you basically are going to update the status or whatever you are trying to update. Finish method is pretty much send an email or whatever. So now you have written your code knowing that, okay, this is a batchable interface. Similarly, another point could be write a trigger. And they won't tell you to write a trigger. They'll tell you something like, hey, when a account is getting updated, you want to update the related opportunities with, or whenever the account billing address gets updated, update the opportunities address as well based on that. So now you know you have to write a trigger. So I've told you earlier also, and this is pretty much same thing. More you write code, more those things are going to get clear. So if you do some lots and lots of examples, if you go back to these classes, do these assignments, do the exercises we finished, and try to do it on your own, that will help you build that pseudocode knowledge. But if you want, I'll also see what else can I come up with because I've been doing it for a very long time. But if there are any strategies, then I will see if I can talk about those strategies on Wednesday too. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be great. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
So
I'll try to
basically,
find whatever I can if there is a special way to think when you're writing code.
yeah, that would be great. I appreciate that.
So Google is the best answer if the ChatGPT doesn't work. In our days, it was Stack Overflow and Trailhead. To be honest with you, copy pasted the code pretty
Right.
much and written that. That's 90% of the time. So for you guys, it's much more easier because of all the AI. For us, it was at least a little bit of thinking because we had a Trailhead, which was not the exact code, but we have to kind of manipulate it to make it work. So this is it for today's class. I will upload the recording by tomorrow. And guys, if you can please share a feedback about the training, that'll really help me. And if you can post it on Google or if you can post it on MyTutorialRack, that'll kind of help me a lot. So just take 2 minutes of your time and post a review for my trainings. We'll highly appreciate that.
Right.
Thank you.
Can you post the link to the Google review? I can write a
Yeah,
review.
so here if you just go Can you open up your laptop and see if MyTutorialRack Google works? If you just do MyTutorialRack,
Give me a second.
if you go to Google
Okay.
and don't write mytutorialrack.com, just say MyTutorialRack. What does it show up?
Give me a second. Yeah, reviews. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, so this post a review. That'll really help a long way.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Appreciate
Deepika,
it.
can
Yeah.
you also upload the testing notes? The
Yeah.
where
I
from where
think it's there. Wait a minute. Let me see. The one I taught today, right?
Yes.
Wait a minute, guys. Wait a minute. Okay. Okay. You should have it now. So if you go to weekday notes, and yes, you have copy of Apex test classes. And also I need to give you the other one. Apex test classes. So here, let me move to, please don't delete anything, guys. I don't know what's Salesforce developer. No. Weekday batch, notes, and move. Move. Okay, so I've uploaded it over there into the weekday. Okay. Bye, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Bye.
Good night.